Hello, everyone. Today is an important day for me for two reasons. One, today we celebrate the anniversary of Ukraine's Independence Day. On August 24th, 1991, Ukrainian people overwhelmingly voted to separate from the Soviet Union. And for them, splitting away from the Soviet Union primarily meant getting out from under Russian influence. At the time, over 90% of Ukrainians voted for this, including Russian-speaking, Ukrainian-speaking, the multinational families like mine, since Ukraine has always been kind of a mix of different peoples. And people of Ukraine have rarely wavered from that path. They decided they wanted to be their own country again. They wanted to be their own people. They wanted to decide their own destiny. Today we celebrate that anniversary. It's also an anniversary of my having been sworn in as a U.S. citizen. That was in 2008, just before the first Obama election. And the reason both of them come to mind, not just because it's a date for me, it's an important date, but also because both those times, to me, symbolize the time of great hope. 1991 in Ukraine was a time of great confusion, yes. I was 16 years old at the time. I was just getting ready to start my last year at school and deciding what I was going to be when I grew up. And so for a lot of us, in addition to the nationwide implications, there were some very basic things. Will we be able to graduate? Are we going to switch languages for our classes? How are we going to handle entrance exams to colleges? Things like that. And so there was a lot going on at the time. Before the Obama election, again, there was a time of great hope and optimism, looking at breaking at least one of the big walls in the U.S. government, finally breaking the racial barrier. So that was important too. Of course, that presidency also marked the beginning of the extreme partisan split between the Republicans and the Democrats, because that was the same year when Mitch McConnell basically said, we will obstruct everything this man does, regardless of whether or not we agree with it, because we cannot allow him to succeed. On the occasion of the Independence Day, President Zelensky addressed the people and reassured them that Ukraine will continue fighting for its independence as a sovereign state. Because what else has it got to do? There are lots of memes floating around saying that if Russia stops, the war ends. If Ukraine stops, Ukraine ends. And that continues to be true. And I agree with him when he says we don't just need peace as the end of shooting, and a very uncertain one at that. We need a fair peace, a just peace, something that would last, and something that allows people of Ukraine to choose their path in the world, in the global arena, with respect and dignity. Russia is whining about Ukraine attacking the power facilities, particularly the nuclear power plant in Kursk. That is a little bit insincere. If you recall, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine has been under Russian occupation since March of 2022. Not only have they violated numerous safety protocols there, but it is unclear how well they have carried out the maintenance of the plant. And it is a known fact that they put landmines all around it. So who the fuck are they to instruct Ukraine on safety around nuclear power plants? Likely what has happened, and that has happened in the past, is that it wasn't exactly a direct attack, but some of the Ukrainian drones flying in some other direction were shot down by Russian air defenses, and pieces of them fell onto the nuclear power plant. Maybe they need to become a little bit more skilled in shooting those things down. Hey, maybe they should ask Ukrainians to teach them how to do that. The amount of disinformation about this war has been so huge that Ukraine had to form a separate government body called the Center for Countering Disinformation. And that basically is what it does. It's like the small army of people who are having to verify and then present evidence regarding any statement, particularly from Russia, talking about what is going on. Interestingly, and this is something that I asked my parents about today, Russia made no statements, none so far, about the US-owned Flex Electronics factory that has been struck over 2 days ago, in southwestern Ukraine. I asked my parents for more details on that because all I saw were the photographs of the big plume of smoke coming up from the factory. So I asked them, what do we know? In addition to the fact that 15 people were hurt during that, the factory basically doesn't exist anymore. It burned down completely. It was hard to tell from the pictures, but they said, yeah, the damage is such that the building is not recoverable, let alone workable. And of course, the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency is telling both Russia and Ukraine to be careful around nuclear power stations. Guys, you could be more useless. I just don't know how. Honestly. Ukraine, you're talking to Ukraine. Ukraine survived Chernobyl. Ukraine already knows that. Maybe direct your efforts at people who really need the instructions. There has been another smaller prisoner swap with 146 soldiers on each side being exchanged. Once again, our own POW was not on the list, which is understandable. Right now, the prisoners being brought home are largely the ones who have been in captivity for 2 or 3 years. Those have been, captured the earliest. So it doesn't help. We're still worried about ours, but we understand how the priorities work there. There were some modest Independence Day celebrations in Kyiv, and Canada Prime Minister Mark Carney came over to participate. Canada has a large Ukrainian population, and Canada has been very vocal in supporting Ukraine, providing military packages, providing armored vehicle, ammunition, finances, and so on and so forth. Also present was Keith Kellogg. He was given a bit of bling by Zelensky. Kellogg is the only one who showed at least some measure of compassion for Ukraine, although that is not helping. I don't think anybody in the Trump administration is listening to him. Meanwhile, the attacks continue, including in my native city of Zaporizhia. There have been repeated attacks on the right side of the river in that region, where a large farmers market was destroyed. Over 30 people were wounded, and at least 3 people are dead. More to come.